Hi, nice to meet you. And thank you for visiting my YouTube channel. Traditional clothing exists in most countries. The traditional clothing of each country has characteristics to adapt to the environment of that country, or it represents a way of life. Thailand's traditional clothes are characterized by very colorful, and in India, there is a women's dress called sari, which is beautiful enough to make you shiver just by looking at it. In Jordan, there is a traditional dress with a beautiful gutra on the head. And in Laos there is a traditional dress called sin, which features very beautiful patterns. The Mongolian traditional dress, Deel, is famous for being able to withstand cold enough to withstand the cold of -50 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, the traditional Korean clothing, hanbok, is characterized by elegant and soft lines. It is said that many foreign visitors want to try on hanbok at least once when they come to Korea. If so, when did hanbok start to be worn, and what type of hanbok did people wear in the past? Since China has always been wary of neighboring countries invading mainland China, they have always closely monitored neighboring countries and documented the results. Therefore, in Chinese history books, there are records of what kind of clothes Koreans wore. According to Chinese records, Koreans always wore white clothes. They always wore white when they were sleeping, going out, going to school, or hunting. Choi Nam-sun, a Korean poet and historian, studied why Koreans wore white clothes, and he was able to find out why. According to Nam-sun Choi's book, Questions and Answers on Joseon Commons, Koreans have been wearing white clothes since ancient times, because white was similar to the white light of the sun. Ancient Koreans believed that they were descendants of the sky god. This can also be seen through the myth of the founding of Go Joseon. According to the founding myth of Go Joseon, there was Hwanin, the king of the gods, in the sky. His son Hwanong looked down at the earth from the sky and dreamed of living in harmony with humans. He got permission from Hwanin and came down to the human world to live. And Hwanong's son Dangan Wangjeom founded a country, which was Go Joseon. Judging from these facts, it can be seen that Koreans have worshipped the sun from a very long time ago and wore white clothes. British geographer Isabella Bishop, who visited Korea 4 times, wrote the following. The white clothes worn by Koreans are reminiscent of Jesus appearing on Easter. Isabella Bishop has been visiting Korea since 1894, and Korea was in the Joseon dynasty at that time. In fact, if you look at the photos taken at that time, you can see all Koreans walking around the streets wearing white clothes. It is said that Koreans always wear white hanbok except for special occasions, such as weddings. So, where did the shape of the hanbok come from? In the 11th century BC, in southern Russia, north of the Black Sea, the world's first horse-riding people, the Scythians, lived. They were the first people in the world to hunt on horseback and fight other peoples on horseback. They were also known as the movie The Legend of Tomyris, the Scythian. They developed clothes that made it easier to ride horses, and the result was trousers. Scythians passed through Central Asia and Mongolian steppes to interact with Koreans, and Korean hanbok was born under the influence of Scythian attire. Korea also had an horse riding culture. It is said that the proportion of hunting life was very large in Goguryeo and Buya, the ancient countries of Koreans. If you look at the pictures of the people of Goguryeo, you can see that they wore trousers just like the Scythians, and they wore wide trousers that could be used comfortably on horseback. This is in contrast to the hanfu worn by the Chinese, which was a one-piece dress with a drawstring waist. On the other hand, there were countries that the Scythians directly came to Korea to establish. Silla and Gaya are examples. When the tombs of the Silla dynasty were first excavated, people were amazed. This is because the excavated relics were of a type that had never been found on the Korean peninsula until now. They were made of splendid gold and were beautiful ornaments. that required very sophisticated techniques. The artifacts were very similar to those of the Scythians, and DNA testing of the remains from the tombs of royalty revealed the following results. In other words, the ruling class of Silla was Scythians, and Silla was a state founded by Scythians. There is a strong hypothesis that the Scythians, represented by Park Yuk-Gyo-se of Silla, entered Gyeongju and established Silla with the support of indigenous forces, based on the developed horsemanship and iron culture. Koreans developed their own Korean clothes based on the attire influenced by the Scythians, and as a result, hanbok was born. The origin of hanbok is very old, and its beauty is still spreading all over the world. Thank you for watching this video.